And if this is your first time connecting with Seattle Fire, you're here just to learn about the opportunity, welcome. But if you're already in the application process and you have the written tests, NTN exams scheduled, make sure you get that done before December 9th. And our Civil Service Commission leaders will be sharing a lot of the information, unpacking not just the exam, but the oral boards and other important subjects. And so stay tuned for that. Is Yoshiko, are you ready for your presentation?
Hi, John. This is Yoshiko Grace Matsui. Hello, everyone. I'm with the Public Safety Civil Service Commission, like John mentioned. All right, so let's scooch ahead. I feel like I covered those. Those are good, but just to review, here's our agenda. Okay. So after you do your application, I'm going to skip straight into step 2. You'll go to register and schedule your test with NTN. Really, we have two methods for you to test with us. One is you can start a new test and register to take a new fire team examination, and you do that by registering online through NTN, or you could transfer a score that you already have, and I'll go into more detail later. We talked about the public safety self-assessment that you do online, so that's separate. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then once you take your fire team, everyone will receive their results a little bit later on, and you may get invited to participate in oral boards. So with a little more detail, here is the actual link to go, governmentjobs.com/careers/Seattle, choose firefighter, and please apply. And our application window is offset from our testing window. So actually, we only accept applications until November 25th. And then we have a little bit of time left in the schedule for testing in case there is a lot of buildup in demand. We don't want to like accept applications until Friday and then have testing close on Friday. That doesn't make sense. So we have a little bit of a window that extends for the testing. So please go do that when you have a chance. Oh, sorry. Okay, for the testing process details, you would go to nationaltestingnetwork.com, fill out a profile if you haven't got a profile already, and then you would use their scheduling to go ahead and set up a test. The next step, and these actually don't have to be in this order, as long as both your PSSA 1 and your fire team are complete by the end of our testing window, that's okay too. So you would complete the public safety self-assessment part 1 only, and you access that from your NTN account. In the meanwhile, or somewhere in there, you should make sure you get a confirmation for your test appointment, which I said would either be in person at a testing center or it would be proctored online, but you'll still need to make sure you got your confirmation. And then I cannot stress this enough. You must arrive 30 minutes before your scheduled test time. If you try and log in to the kiosk, 2 minutes before your test starts, that's probably not enough to go through all the security briefings that you have to go through in order to make sure that you don't have any screen recorders, you don't have any other software running that you're not supposed to have running. It's not enough time for the proctor to check your photo ID. So you must sign in at least 30 minutes in advance. And we'll talk about that timeliness when it comes to oral boards too. But please don't expect that if, hey, my test was supposed to start at 1 and I signed in at 12:58, that you're going to be able to go through. That's actually would be considered a no-show for you not to sign in on time. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then you send your scores to Seattle through NTN's website. All right. We covered a bit of this, so it's just repeating those same steps. Test dates. So I have these on the slideshow several times because we're trying to learn through some repetition here. Our application window opened on October 7th, so it's been underway for quite a while now, and it's going to close on November 25th. The testing window opened on October 7th, so people have already been submitting scores or transferring scores or scheduling their testing. but we cannot accept any test results past December 9th. That is the cutoff for you to either complete a test and submit a score to us. Some folks have asked me, can I take a test on that day, December 9th, and it will count? And the answer is yes, but I have to warn you, if something goes wrong, I'm not going to accept it on the 10th or the 11th. So while you can use that last day to schedule a test, I would give yourself some buffer time, really, to just make sure that you have a plan in case of contingencies like this one, where your presentation just doesn't work or your computer doesn't work, and then you have to reschedule, and that would be very bad if you miss the deadline because you had to wait till the very last minute. Oop, sorry, mouse clicking a little bit too fast. All right, I talked about the two options, and these are listed on the job bulletin. I highly encourage folks to go look at the job bulletin and read it because there is actually a ton of information in that job bulletin that has to do with starting salary, has to do with what a day in the life of a firefighter might be, what the outline of the testing process is like. So I encourage you to read that and get to know it. It also talks about these two testing options. So you can take a new test. Now, NTN itself has a freeze, like you can only retest within a 90-day period. So you can't take the test like every day, right? So if you haven't taken a test in the last 90 days, you can go in and schedule a new one. So that's the caveat there. But if it's been sooner than that, they're not going to let you register again. But the new score, if you decide to do an in-person or online test, will take the place of whatever old scores you had, and we'll get those new scores. Option 2 is to use the department ad. So this is for folks who already have a current score. And by current, I mean less than a year old. So it's valid in your profile right now. And you can add us right through the standard transfer or department ad process. This uses an existing score that you already have in your profile. You can't do both. Once you send us some scores, I believe that's it. And you can only send us one set of scores. So choose which one you would like to do, the ones that you have on file already, or if you would like to go ahead and take a new test, that is up to you. All right. This has been something that we've gotten a lot of questions about. It's a kind of a new way that NTN shows you what your ranking or performance is like in comparison to national. And so I think of this as a gas gauge, and I know it's like not orange or in the middle, but green basically means you are have done very well. You've performed in that top 10% of NTN test takers nationally. The blue spot is in the middle, and the yellow is low. They do not give you your actual scores, and we're not going to give you your actual scores either until after the testing window has closed. Whenever you apply to any department or jurisdiction, your score is really relative to all the other people who took the score. You could be the highest, or you could be the number 200 because there's 200 and 199 other people who got higher than you. It depends on who else applies. And so these are just like general guidelines. If you think you're closer to that green and the high performing, I would encourage you to apply. If you're in the middle, I would encourage you to apply because it really depends on how many people get through the testing process, how many people complete the testing process. And we are not looking for perfect scores, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But I think that our scores and our cutoffs are well calibrated to what the market is right now. And I will say that everyone who applies and sends a test score to Seattle will get an email sent out through our applicant tracking system, which is called NeoGov or governmentjobs.com, and it will give you a breakdown of your scores after the testing period closes. So in mid-December or so, you will get actual scores from us, but we do it all at once instead of one at a time. All right. NTN has testing locations not only locally, but across the country. So just a few of them include Everett, Federal Way, Mount Vernon, Olympia, Pasco, Renton. 130 other locations, maybe somewhere near you, and online administration, including globally if someone is abroad right now or serving at a station that is overseas. One of the things that folks tell me that they might have a strong preference for is whether or not they take a test that's fully computerized or one that's like pencil paper. So you might want to look into which location is you sitting at a computer with a mouse, if that makes you most comfortable, or if you are sitting in an auditorium with a video playing and then you're writing down your answers on a bubble sheet like you would in school. Some people have a preference, some folks do not, but those are some differences in the different administration locations. And so if it matters to you, please look into that. Some tips for the test itself. Please arrive early. Bring your government issued ID. You'll be asked to sign a confidentiality agreement. The test material is proprietary and is owned by NTN. They will not allow electronic devices, and no outside material is allowed in the testing room, and everything you need will be provided for you. They have a zero cheating tolerance. And the test will not stop. I think this is sometimes surprising to people, but if you need to get up and leave to go to the restroom, blow your nose, whatever you would like to do, it rolls on. So as you can imagine, the longer you are out of the room, the more likely it is that you might miss a couple questions in answering those. So that is something to be aware of when you go in for an in-person administration. All right, learning through repetition. Again, those test dates, they're open now, October 7th through December 9th. After the test, do not discuss any test components or their content. The City of Seattle will contact you regarding next steps in the process. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to email us at the Civil Service Department, Fire and Police Exams Unit, that's us, or Public Safety Exams Unit. And the best way to reach us, the folks who work on test administration, is firecareers@seattle.gov. Okay. And Thivia, you'll have to remind me when you're taking over. What? You're no
Now.
longer. Now. Cool.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Okay.
All right. I'm here to pass it on to my colleague Thivia, and she'll have to let me know when she's ready for me to advance the slide.
Yes. Okay, so now we will go over the testing components. Next slide.
Oh, sorry. Touchy.
So here you can see that we have all of the components of the exam process listed out, but first we'll focus on the 5 exam components on the left. So at the very top, we have human relations, and then below that, we have the PSSA 1. And below those, we have the math, mechanical, and reading. So just keep in mind that the math, mechanical, and reading are all pass-fail, but the scored portions are the human relations, or otherwise known as fire team. That's weighted at 50% of your total score, which will impact your rank on the eligibility list. And the PSSA 1 is weighted at 25%. So your scores on human relations and PSSA 1, they will determine whether you will be invited to participate in the civil service oral board process. And if you are invited to the oral boards, your score on the oral boards are weighted at 25%. So you can see that your total score of 100% is made up of 50% human relations, 25% PSSA 1, and then 25% oral boards. Next slide. So as far as the PSSA 1 goes, after you register for online, you'll be asked to complete the PSSA-1. Just keep in mind that this is a test. You do have 1 hour to complete all the questions. And we just want to remind you to please, treat this like a test, and that make sure you have enough time to take the test when you hit on, like you click the button to start the test. So it's something you can just take from your NTN account. You can take it, like Yoshiko said, it's not proctored, so you can take it from your house, work, wherever you choose. But again, we want to highlight, like, please have a full hour of uninterrupted time set aside to take this. Please don't take this while you are working or perhaps you are on call. We want to recommend that you have a good, reliable internet connection. Just like all the technical difficulties we've been having today, you just want to make sure you do what you can to mitigate those kinds of issues. And like the fire team, the minute you start the PSSA-1, the timer goes and you cannot pause the test or save your progress. So it does have to be completed in one go. And because you do not have to schedule this, we really recommend that you take the PSSA-1 as soon as you register, just so you have that part completed. Next slide. In your NTN applicant account, you will see where you can click to start the public safety, or you will see there where to click on the PSSA-1, and then following that, you will see a confidentiality agreement, and you can click agree to then continue to take the test. Next slide. Okay, here's an example of what a sample PSSA-1 question looks like. So we have blanked it out here, but you will see the question, and you will then have 5 options to choose from. So the options range from strongly disagree to strongly agree, and you get to read the question and then select how much you agree or disagree with the statement that's presented. Next slide. So here we are supposed to play a candidate orientation video, but Yoshiko, are you able to play that?
So we have, like I said, one of our consultants here with us, and I wanted to check to see if she could actually upload from her computer, if she could be made a presenter, and that's Felicia. Yeah.
Hi everyone. Hi Yoshiko. I can, let me see if I can share my screen. One moment.
By the way, thank you, Hannah, for answering all the questions along the way. Keep them coming.
Yes, thank you very much, Hannah, for doing all of that.
Yoshiko, if you feel comfortable coming back to this portion, or did you want to continue? Okay.
Yes, let me check in. Oh,
Can you
this
see my
looks
screen?
good. Yes, we can see something from Felicia.
Okay, let's see if the audio works. Can everyone hear that?
No.
Okay, 1 second.
Welcome to the National Testing Network
Good.
Fire Candidate Orientation. The purpose of this orientation is to let you know what you can expect from the fire team test and to familiarize you with the format of the different test components. This video will cover what to expect from each fire team test component and some general test-taking tips to help you do your best. Your first step will be to register if you haven't already. Next, you will pick your preferred date, time, and location to test, and schedule your exam. Once you finish registering and scheduling your test, you will receive a confirmation of your chosen test date, time, and location that includes important information you need to know about testing. Make sure you read all of the information. Certain departments you apply to may require additional registration steps. Please review the job posting requirements carefully to see what is required. National Testing Network recommends applicants arrive 30 minutes before their scheduled test time. Applicants who arrive late will not be allowed to test and will be considered a no-show. Bring your government-issued identification. You will be asked to sign a confidentiality agreement. Nothing is allowed in the testing room. You will be provided with everything you need when you test. There is a strict no cheating policy. The test will not stop if you must leave to use the restroom. Fire team is approximately 2 hours total. When you arrive at the testing location to take the fire team test, you will take 4 separate components. You will take the fire team human relations video test, mechanical test, reading test, and math test. Starting with the fire team human relations video test. This test is approximately 1 hour. It has 2 parts. It focuses on teamwork and interpersonal relations. For part 1 of the test, a scenario plays. Then you will choose the best of 4 answer choices. Make sure you listen to and read all answer choices carefully before choosing one. Always choose the best alternative listed. Don't focus on an answer that is not provided. For part 2, you will be asked how much you agree or disagree with statements that ask you about your attitude regarding some of the department personnel you saw in the test. You will respond with whether you strongly disagree, disagree, feel neutral, agree, or strongly agree. You will now watch the Human Relations Test Introduction. This is the actual test introduction, and you will see it again when you take the Fire Team Human Relations video test. This is a Human Relations video test that has 2 parts. In part 1, you will see video scenarios depicting firefighters. Each scenario is followed by a question with 4 answers. In part 2, you'll be asked your opinion about firefighters you saw in part 1. This is a human relations test focusing on teamwork and public relations. It's a test of your common sense. You don't need experience to answer these questions. This is not a test of your knowledge of any particular policy, codes, or technical aspects of the job. Any information like that may be needed to answer a question will be provided in the test. For instance, At times, it is stated that certain personal protective equipment is required. You are not expected to know anything other than what is stated. Base your answers only on information given in the test and your own common sense. This is a test. It is not in any way intended as training or as an example of how firefighters and rescue personnel should handle their jobs. Firefighters may or may not be demonstrating good performance. Sometimes you will see firefighters who make poor choices about what to do. Answer each question based on everything you have seen and heard in the video up to that point. Choose the best option from the 4 available answers. Don't get stuck thinking about answer choices that are not available to you. Also keep in mind, there are no trick questions. Although all the answers may not be equal in terms of common sense, they would all be choices available to the firefighters in the scenarios. In no case is an answer wrong because the choice would not be possible. Pay attention to the behaviors and actions of the firefighters and supervisors you see in the scenarios, and consider how it would feel to work with these individuals. In Part 2, you will be asked your opinion about many of the characters you saw. Keep this in mind as you watch Part 1. The video test will now begin. You will now see a demonstration question and answers.
Today's drill is donning an air pack. The time standard is 2 minutes. You need to be proficient. Any questions? Okay, good luck.
I'll go first.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
And go.
Done.
Whoa, just under a minute.
All right, that's my fastest time.
Yeah, good work.
Thanks. Your turn.
All right, I'll get ready.
Ready?
Yep.
Go. Time. Sorry, man. You want to try it again?
Yeah.
All right. All right, second try. Ready? Go. Time. That was better.
Man, let's do it again.
Okay. All right, third try. You got this. You can do it. Ready?
All right.
Go.
Done.
You did it. 1:59.
Yes!
It wasn't pretty, but you got it done. Dinner's in a half an hour. You want to pick this up and go work out until then?
Dinner won't be for half an hour. If you were him, what would you do? A. Go work out with her until dinner. B. Keep practicing the air pack drill until dinner. C. Tell the supervisor you completed the drill in the required time. Ask what she wants you to practice next. D. Relax until after dinner. Then ask the supervisor what you should do next. Answer B. Keep practicing the air pack drill until dinner is the best answer. It shows recognition that the firefighter needs more practice with getting his gear on quickly and smoothly. Being persistent in practicing to overcome any level of clumsiness and learning to don his gear quickly and smoothly is the highest priority here. Answer A, go work out with her until dinner, is not the best answer. This firefighter only barely completed the drill on time, with only 1 second to spare. He struggled several times, and as the other firefighter said, it wasn't pretty. He clearly needs more practice putting on his gear quickly and smoothly. and should do that instead of going to work out. Answer C, tell the supervisor you completed the drill in the required time, ask what she wants you to practice next, is not the best answer. This firefighter may have finished in the required time, but he should not be satisfied with his clumsy performance of this critical task. He should continue practicing until he can do it quickly and smoothly. Answer D, relax until after dinner, then ask the supervisor what you should do next, is not the best answer. This firefighter may have finished in the required time, but he should not be satisfied with his clumsy performance of this critical task. He should continue practicing until he can do this quickly and smoothly. This answer is also poor in that the firefighter should not choose to spend his time unproductively by relaxing. You will now see another demonstration question.
Who is it? Fire department. Grandpa, did you call the fire department?
Yes, I did. Come on in.
Hello, sir. I'm Brad with the fire department. You called for an ambulance. What seems to be the problem?
I ran out of my blood pressure and medication, and I can't drive. I tried to get my grandson to go to the pharmacy earlier, but he's got this new video game. He's been playing it all day long, and he won't leave it.
It's not my job to take care of you.
See? Anyway, since I ran out, I didn't take my dose earlier, and I don't feel quite right.
Okay, you don't feel right. Are you feeling ill, sir? Are you in pain?
Neither. I just feel like I haven't taken my medicine.
Okay. You feeling weak or dizzy?
No, I just missed my medicine.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and check your vital signs if you don't mind. So everything looks okay, and you don't appear to be in any discomfort at this moment. So the best option would be for you to go to the hospital tonight so you can get your medication.
I have to go to the hospital?
It's the only place at this time of night that you can get medication. Would it be okay if I spoke to your grandson?
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, we've checked out your grandfather and everything seems okay. The best option for him right now would be for you to take him to the hospital so he could get his medication. It's the only place that's open this time of night. Would you be willing to do that? Sir?
What, were you talking to me?
Yes.
I'm on level 6.
Yeah, looks like a fun game, but maybe you could help out right now by taking your grandfather to get his medication?
No, I'm busy. What do we pay you guys for? It's not my job. I mean, you're here anyway.
Which of the following would be best to do at this point? A. Stop trying to convince the grandson. Just take the grandfather to the hospital. B. Tell the grandson to take his grandfather to the hospital now. Make sure he does. C. Tell the grandfather you'll take him to the hospital if he can't convince his grandson to do it, but it isn't fair to people with real emergencies. D. Tell the grandfather he needs to find a way to get his own medicine. Answer A. Stop trying to convince the grandson. Just take the grandfather to the hospital is the best answer. Both the grandfather and the firefighter have been unable to convince the grandson to help. Further conversation would be useless with this young man who has clearly conveyed that he does not feel any responsibility to help his grandfather. The grandson is not a source of help. The firefighters should resolve the situation as if the grandson were not there. They should take the grandfather to the hospital since he can't drive and will not feel comfortable until he has his medicine. Answer B. Tell the grandson to take his grandfather to the hospital now. Make sure he does, is not the best answer. This young man has clearly conveyed that he does not feel any responsibility to help his grandfather. Attempting to force him to take his grandfather to the hospital would escalate the situation for everyone. It would make for a very uncomfortable situation for the grandfather, regardless of how it turned out. Additionally, just because the grandson is young doesn't make it appropriate for the firefighter to order him around. Answer C. Tell the grandfather you'll take him to the hospital If he can't convince his grandson to do it, but it isn't fair to people with real emergencies, is not the best answer. The young man has clearly conveyed that he is not going to take his grandfather to the hospital. The grandfather needs to go to the hospital and can't drive. He was uncomfortable enough to call for emergency assistance, and his concern will not be resolved until he has his medication. If the firefighters are going to take him to the hospital, there is no reason to try to make him feel bad about it, especially since nothing else can be done. Answer D, tell the grandfather he needs to find a way to get his own medicine, is not the best answer. The grandfather would not have called for emergency assistance if he had a way to get his medication. If the firefighters leave him, they have not resolved the situation that they were called to deal with. Even if nothing were to happen to him, he may call for emergency assistance again tonight because he is still worried. The next component is the fire team mechanical test. The mechanical test is approximately 30 minutes. You will be introduced to a fictional brick factory. This tests for basic mechanical reasoning. You will now see the mechanical test introduction, followed by a demonstration question. This introduction is the actual test introduction you will see when you take the test. This is a mechanical aptitude test. You don't need specialized education, just common sense based on observation of the world around you. The setting for these general mechanical aptitude questions is a simple system where plastic bricks are made. To answer the questions, imagine you are the operator of this system. Here is how the system works. This bin is a hopper. It's filled with recycled plastic material. You can control how much of this material is let out onto the conveyor belt by using this control. From the conveyor belt, the material drops onto this shaker tray in the washing station. The spray water comes from this narrow washing supply tank. The bottom of the shaker tray is mesh, so wash water passes through this filter into the sump tank down here. Then it gets pumped back up into the washing supply tank. Even though some of the water solid being filtered out here. The melted material is then pumped up to the mixing station. Material needed for one batch is measured in the yellow cylinder. You can see that red dye and white fiberglass are also measured and then blended with the melt.
Hey, sorry about that. I am reloading the video.
Sure, absolutely. It looks like the internet is not playing well with anybody today, so I'm sure it's because of the great amount of folks who are all sharing this line. She is going to go ahead and see if we can retry loading up that brick factory. If you've already taken Fire Team, then you're probably very familiar with the brick factory. Yes, this is a preview of the Fire Team itself, and is also something that you can access if you want to go ahead and purchase a practice test on NTAN's website. But because you're here today, you're going to get a preview of how it looks, get a feel for how the questions run with the video vignettes, and then the multiple choice options for the tests, so that you can feel a little bit more prepared and know what to expect when you sign in to take your exam. The practice test does have a small fee that goes with it, but we're happy to share and have our folks here with NTN to give us this preview so that you can go ahead and know what you'll be facing when you sign up to take that test. So Felicia, give it a try.
Cylinder. You can see that red dye and white fiberglass are also measured and then blended with the melted material. Blended batches are dumped into the molding tank and poured through spouts into molds. The hot liquid bricks are cooled here and come out hard. Finally, at the quality control station, the finished bricks are inspected. Each one passes over a scale, and if the weight isn't right, the brick is rejected. Also, from the control room, the system operator observes the bricks to see if they look right. Bricks that pass inspection go on to the packaging department. The system operator is responsible for continuously observing to make sure there is no waste of materials, no undue strain on the machinery, and no production problems. Anything that does not look right or sound right means that the system may need adjustment or repair. You will now see a demonstration question.
The conveyor belt is uneven, and we need to place a small block under this leg to level it. The belt is turned off. Using this pry bar, what would be the best way to lift the heavy weight of the leg so the block can be slipped under it? A, this way. B, this way. Or C, this way.
The correct answer is B, giving you proper leverage to lift the conveyor belt. The other options either provide no mechanical advantage or a mechanical disadvantage. The next component is the reading test. It is approximately 6 minutes long. This is a reading test based on typical materials you would have to read on the job. For the reading test, you will read a passage that includes a series of fill-in-the-blank questions. You will choose the correct word from 4 answer choices provided. For each missing word, only one of the 4 answers provided makes sense. This is an example of how the reading test works. The test may look different depending on which location you are testing at. This passage is entitled Reporting Accidents. Reporting accidents. Report all accidents on or near your vehicle, no matter how trivial they may seem. Get the names of all persons blank or involved. Secure names and addresses of persons blank injury. Also, get information on occupants of other blank, persons standing near the injured, and property owners. You can see this blank is question number 1. The choices are A, paying, B, detected, C, rewarded, or D, injured. The choices for number 2 are here. The choices for number 3 are here. For each question in the test, decide which of the 4 words is the best choice to fill in the blank. Only one of the 4 words makes sense. The correct answer for example question number 1 is D, injured. Get the names of all persons injured or involved. Again, only one of the 4 answers provided makes sense. The only answers that make sense in the example are 1. D, injured. 2. C, claiming. 3. B, vehicles. The last component is the math test. This test covers basic subtraction, addition, division, multiplication, and estimating proportions. You will perform all the math mentally. No notes or written calculations are permitted. No calculators are permitted. Listen carefully to the question that is being asked. You will now see a demonstration question. The fire engine carries 30 sections of hose. If firefighters take 10 sections off, how many sections are left on the engine? "30 sections minus 10 sections equals 20. The answer is 20. Here are some general test-taking tips to help you do your best. Make sure you visit the National Testing Network website to read about the fire team test. Visit the Frequently Asked Questions page and take the fire team practice test. Get the amount of sleep that leaves you alert. Not too much, not too little. And remember, arrive at the testing center early to get checked in and seated. Best of luck.
All right. Thank you very much, Felicia. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we can talk a little bit more about the oral board.
Okay, so now we will go into the oral board and do an overview of that process. Next slide. So here's the overview. As far as the oral board is considered, it is developed with NTN, but also in conjunction with the Seattle Fire Department and the Civil Service Department. So it's a joint effort, and the goal of the oral board is to measure critical knowledge, skills, and abilities necessary for the entry-level position of firefighter. The oral board is a panel interview, so there will be 3 assessors, and they will be scoring your answers using standard score sheets. And when I say standard score sheets, it means that we have a rubric that we have designed, and that is what the assessors will be using when they are grading your responses. And just to keep in mind that the assessors are trained on how to use the scoring rubric, and they will also go through an equity training provided by the city. So this is to ensure that there's a reduction in any kind of biases that might come into play when it's, in an interview setting. So rest assured that they are well trained and know how to use the scoring rubric before they assess you. Next slide. So as we mentioned before, you will be invited to the oral boards only if you are in the top 1,500 candidates. And once you are invited, you can self-schedule your oral board date and time depending on what works best for your schedule, or if you're traveling in from out of town. The oral board itself is a very structured process. What that means is that there are a set number of questions and the responses are timed. So this is to ensure that, every candidate that goes through the oral board gets a similar experience. So same number of questions asked the same exact way, and everyone has the same amount of time to respond to the questions. We recommend that you dress your best. I mean, first impressions matter and make a difference. So we recommend business or business casual. Next slide. So now we'll just go into some high-level preparation tips for oral board. Next slide. Again, as with all the other testing components, please arrive early. You can prepare by understanding the job and the department. So that should be part of your practice before coming to oral boards. Another thing you can do is really sit down and think about your accomplishments, credentials, and then share them during the oral boards where it's appropriate. So really do all of this reflection before coming into the oral board so you're not surprised and can access, these examples easily. We want you to be confident and communicate clearly, just so the assessors are able to understand what it is you're saying and therefore give you the scores that are accurate based off of what you're saying. Next slide. So more tips on how to prepare for oral boards. We recommend that you don't apologize or be self-deprecating. We really want you to be yourself. I know that's something we hear a lot, like be yourself. But the point of that is that assessors are seeing a lot of candidates, and if someone comes in and puts on a persona, it's pretty easy to kind of know that a person is putting on a show. So just be yourself as much as you can in the setting of an interview, which we recognize is an unnatural setting, but do the best you can to be yourself. With thinking out loud, we recommend that just so the assessors can really understand your thought process and follow along with what it is you're saying. So if that's helpful, please, explain what's going through your mind in real time. And then also imagine yourself in the panel's place, right? Because they are looking at several candidates over the course of the day. And as part of your prep, you can also imagine how it would feel to sit in the panel and be listening to your responses. So that kind of can help you craft your answers as well. Monitor your time. There will be a clock in the room where you can monitor your time. So that will be visible for you. Be clear, concise, and honest, and fully answer each question. Don't make assumptions, or if you do make any assumptions, state them just so the assessors understand, again, your thought process. And relax and do the best you can. We know this is not the most it's not a situation that any of us feel very comfortable in. So we recognize that, but just do the best that you can given the situation. Next slide. So after the oral boards, please do not discuss any of the tests processes or the content or the questions with anyone. The City of Seattle will contact you regarding next steps in the process. And then, like we've said many times over the course of this presentation, with questions, a safe bet is to email the Public Safety Exams Unit at firecareers@seattle.gov. So from there, we can direct you to different places, but that's like if the one email you have to remember today, that would be the best bet. Next slide. And this basically just tells you that if you can email us with any questions about applications and testing that's specific to the firecareers@seattle.gov. But if you have questions that are specific to the Seattle Fire Department, we recommend that you contact them directly, which will be sfd.recruitment@seattle.gov. So that's our presentation. And now we can spend the rest of the time going over more questions.
All right, thank you very much. We do have some few minutes here. If there's some questions that didn't get addressed that you'd like to ask us in the chat, we're happy to help out here. there is a lot of questions about how to best access your candidate portal, how to find where you get the PSSA 1. And I have to tell you that I'm not a candidate, and so I don't have a candidate portal. And so sometimes the best answer is to go directly to NTN and ask them to walk you through the steps. They're extremely helpful. They have customer service who's available by phone, which is the quickest way to get a hold of someone, or over by email as well. And they can walk you through the process. They're very knowledgeable about their product and how they can help you. So I highly recommend, if you're hunting around and you can't find the PSSA 1, please contact NTN, because they're the ones that administer the test itself. So let's see if I can go ahead and have some other things. Is prior military service factored into the process? That's a great question. I mean, certainly your experience in the military is something that you can talk about in your oral board if it pertains to some of the questions that come up for you. In Washington State, we are required to provide what used to be called Veterans Preference Points. It's now called Veterans Scoring Criteria. And so you can get up to 10% of your score added if you provide documentation and claim that you would like to get these preference points, that timing of which happens at oral boards. So we collect the documentation information that we need to get your application going for veterans preference when you show up the day of your oral boards. And then you'll get you'll get it evaluated by our staff who are there. Absolutely. So let's see. Is there a typical turnaround score? I'm pretty much the turnaround time for scores. This is a question that's come up a couple of times, and I'm happy to answer it. It's pretty instant on our side. So as soon as you send a score or complete a test, we can see it on the NTN portal for our side, the client side. And so it comes through pretty much that day. So if you were scheduled to take a test on December 5th or 6th or 7th, we pretty much will get it almost instantaneously. But like I said earlier, I highly recommend that you do not cut it that fine. Like, go ahead and take your test a week earlier if you can get a spot, because stuff can happen just like today where technology doesn't work or something comes up and you have an emergency, and we will have no opportunity to fix it if you're trying to take that test on December 9th. All right, let's see. That's a good question about certifications. So everyone gets hired in at the same amount. I don't know if Hannah wants to jump in here. So regardless of your previous experience or what kind of certifications you hold, everyone goes through the same drill school, and you will start the process and be trained in identical fashion to folks who may not have those certifications. Is that correct, Hannah?
Yep, that's correct. We require everybody to go through our recruit school process or the same recruit school regardless of their prior experience or education.
Thank you. Absolutely. We have said a couple of times that all of your scores will be calculated and sent out in mid-December after the testing window closes. So if folks call us and ask us about what their individual scores are, unfortunately, we're going to tell you the same thing, that everyone will get access to the scores at the same time at the end of our testing window. For fire team, if you did very well on all portions of human relations, are you losing? Oh, but human relations. Yeah, this has come up in a couple times in the chat. Like, let's say you passed the mechanical reasoning, you passed math, and you did well in spelling, but your human relations wasn't so great. You do have that other 25% that comes from the PSSA 1. And potentially you could do really, really well on that oral board. So your human relation score does count. It's a large chunk of your final eligibility, but there are other places where you can make up some of that points if you are confident that you did well on the PSSA 1, or that you feel like you can do well on the oral board. So I encourage folks to go through the process, especially knowing that there are tons of current firefighters right now who had to go through it more than once. And part of it is just learning and being familiar with how the process is, how it works. And then you may get more comfortable and know better what the expectations are, like what the process is like. And hopefully you'll do better the next time. But I can tell you that there's a large amount of people who apply more than one cycle, who have to try more than once in order to do really well on those components, because we do things a little bit differently. You know, there's a lot of departments and jurisdictions that don't do an in-person oral board anymore. And so it may not be, or it may be not formatted the way that Seattle does it. And so it may take 1 or 2 times for you to get into the right rhythm and know what Seattle is really expecting from candidates to show in some excellence. And so I encourage you to try again. Like I said earlier, I know many, many firefighters here in Seattle who had to test more than once in order to keep going and be hired and are now very successful. Does FSC eventually send you to paramedic school? I would love to have Hannah talk a little bit about assignments, paramedicine program, and what other career growth kind of things that can happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of specialty teams and other things that you can do once you are in the department and have passed your probation period. In regards to our Medic 1 program, that's our paramedic program. After you've been in the department for 2 years, you're eligible to apply for that program. If you are accepted, you'll complete a year-long training program and then be certified as a Medic 1 paramedic. So that's one direction that you can take. But besides that, there's a lot of technical and specialty teams and the opportunity to promote up to higher ranks as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. And again, I'm going to say if you're having problems finding out where that PSSA 1 is, it's usually right in the front of your profile when you log in. I encourage you to contact NTN's customer service. All right. So Academy is only once you've received an offer. Yes. There is one thing I will say, even though Hannah and we work very closely together, we work in different departments, and I like to think of it as kind of a relay race. Your first opportunity in working with a department might be with the fire department. Like you might go to recruitment event, you might go check out their website. But when it comes to testing, you get handed over to our department in civil service, and we run for a while together. And then after you go through the oral board, you're placed on the register and you score in the top 25%. That top 25% is certified to go under further consideration from the fire department. And that's when I hand that baton back over to Hannah and folks in the fire department to go through the pre-hire selection. So it does not stop when your oral board is done and you've passed. There are quite a few more steps after, and I would point people directly to the fire department's website, which is very in-depth and informative about what those steps are when it comes to working your way up to a conditional offer. How many applicants do we expect to test? You know, that's always it's a gamble. If I could come up with that, maybe I would have won the Mega Millions yesterday. We don't know. Last year we had around just about 3,900 people apply. Now, applying is one thing, but completing testing is another thing. But we had enough people apply and do well enough on the testing that we actually had to cap the number of people that we invited to oral boards. In the past, we hadn't seen that number of folks do that well. We weren't expecting the number to be so high, but our capacity is that we can do about 1,500 interviews, and that's already a lot of oral boards. And so that's the number of people we take through. After that, you'll get put on a ranked list, the register or eligibility list, and the top 25% of that list go on to be screened or invited to do the pre-selection steps for Seattle Fire. So I don't know how many folks will end up doing testing, but it is a competitive process, and we saw higher numbers last year completing the testing process than I've seen in the past. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Still looking through. Oh, someone talked a little bit about the structure of oral boards, and Thivia did a great job of describing it, but I want to make sure that folks know how it's different than a standard business interview that you might go to if you were applying outside of fire service or outside Seattle Fire. Like she said, it's highly structured, so everyone gets the same questions, the same amount of time, and they should even be asked in the exact same way. It is not free form, so there are no follow-up questions. You may not hand your resume to anyone. We won't accept it. And you can bank on the interviewers or the panel members not having read your resume at all before you got there. That's sort of considered a step that's already been done, and now you're being evaluated in a different step. And so you're only being evaluated on what you communicate in your oral board. So do not count on someone knowing what your background is or having read anything about you. You need to communicate it in your oral board and answer the questions directly that might come up that pertain to your prior experience or who you are or what your goals are. And so I cannot stress enough that I think it's important to practice with a timer and say, okay, if I have a certain amount of questions and a certain amount of time, and I need to give a 2-minute answer or a 3-minute answer for each one, whatever it is, I'm making those numbers up, but that you can give a fairly complete and in-depth answer in 3 minutes, directly addressing the question that shows that you have the experience or that you're ready to respond to those kinds of things. And there's really no substitution for practice. If you don't have the timing down and able to like start an answer, get to the meat of your answer, wrap up your answer, and use as much of that time as possible, you may shortchange yourself. We do see folks who maybe are not as used to managing their own time in an oral board or an interview, but that's what you will have to do, is that you will have to go through each one and make sure that you've given the most thorough and in-depth answer, because the panelists are not going to prompt you. They're not going to say, oh, you forgot to mention this part. No, they're not. They're going to be scoring, looking down at their paperwork, looking at you, and then waiting for you to move on to the next question. So it is intimidating. I know it can be very different than any other type of interview, business interview you've been to, but I cannot stress enough that it really helps to practice to get an egg timer or use your phone to time your responses, and even record your responses. So I highly recommend that you have a chance to do that before you get to your oral board. All right, I think we just have a few more minutes. Yeah, I can't really speak directly to what kind of questions that we're going to ask. That is considered, confidential test material, but I think that there are lots of prep guides online, and I think that there are, even if you were to just look into like what are some very basic entry-level firefighter oral board questions, you would come up with some really good practice ones that you can use on your own. So I'm not going to tell you what we're going to ask you, but I think that there's a lot out there that you can use to prepare. Absolutely.
Hey, Yoshiko, we do have just about 4 more minutes to the end of our time together, but I wanted to make sure that Firefighter Kolajun had
thank you.
Questions specific to the firefighter perspective that would be helpful, and maybe we want to go directly to him and ask him just if he has some advice for this excellent group of prospective candidates on anything else that he hasn't heard you talk about that he might like to share. Xavier, are you on still?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. Yeah, so a lot of really good stuff. Yeah, fortunately, I've been able to. My name is Xavier, guys, by the way, a firefighter with Seattle. I've been with Seattle since 2022. I was assigned to Engine 28 in Rainier Valley. I'm currently assigned to paramedic training with Seattle Medic 1. Some of the biggest things is I've sat on the interview panel. So preparing for the interview panel can be a challenge because it's typically it's the first time you've done a firefighter interview, and it's it can be a tough process, but just consider the fact that if you put the effort in and you like they were mentioning, you put the research into figuring out how to best prepare yourself for the interview, that really shows and comes across in the interview. So as long as you're dedicating the time to preparing yourself the best way that you know how for that interview, I'd say that's probably your best bet. But no, there was a lot of really good stuff covered. The testing process can be a doozy sometimes because there's just so many little steps, but most of the information should be available to you guys either through the Seattle Fire website or through the NTN directly. But if there's any specific questions that you guys want me to go towards, I know there were some academy or drill school specific questions. If you guys want me to talk about some of those, I can.
Let's keep an eye on the chat here and see what pops up that might be specific for you. And Yoshiko, if there's anything else that you want to cover, any other questions that have popped up as you've been scanning that you want to cover before we hit 5:30, that's great too.
I do see a question about the CPAT in there if you wanted to give them any any advice on that.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked a little bit about it earlier. For those that have never seen or done the CPAT, the first thing I would do is just go on YouTube and look up a video of what the actual CPAT is. It's a very structured kind of A, B, C, D physical test that is going to be done the same way. It's a relatively baseline entry-level physical output for firefighter ability. There really is no sort of previous firefighter skills or ability needed to do this test. But I would just look up what the actual test consists of, making sure that you're doing some sort of physical training. I will say that the CPAT it's a good entry-level test, but it is not a good indicator of fitness for preparing yourself for drill school. So make sure you're spending a lot of time preparing yourself for those next steps in the process, which would be drill school. Someone asked if you can fail out of drill school. Yeah, you have to meet the criteria and the standards that are placed by the Seattle Fire Department Training Division. It's 16 weeks, so there's a lot of physical manipulative skills as well as written testing, and you have to maintain the standards that are set by the training division. So yes, it is possible to not be successful in terms of making it through drill school. Does Seattle Fire run the transport and ambulance service as well? We contract AMR for our BLS transports, and then Seattle Fire paramedics transport all ALS patients.
We have time for about one more question, and then we'll wrap it up just to honor folks' time today.
Here's a good one. Fire prep program. Is it for people before the academy or before applying? The fire prep program is a wonderful program. I would highly suggest taking advantage of it. You might see me down there. I'm one of the instructors for that program. It is available to anybody at any stage of this process. It is not for people that have any conditional offers for our recruit school. It is available to the public, so make sure to be on top of when the sign-up date for that is, because it does fill up very quickly. But I would very much suggest taking advantage of that program. It is a wonderful program.
All right. Well, I'm going to pop in. I'm a different face than you saw at the beginning. John Park had to step out. I'm Kim Schmanke. I'm part of the Seattle Fire team. I want to thank everyone for joining. John asked me to drop a few reminders both in the chat, so David's going to put some notes in there for you as well. And I'm going to verbalize a few here as well. So first of all, December 9th is the last date for exams. And so some of you asked which ones. It's both. Of course, November 25 is the last date to get your application in for this hiring cycle. So please make sure you're meeting the deadline for the 25th. And then again, by December 9th, your tests. We have 2 more Fire Connect podcast episodes yet to drop. So if you've been watching that series, I've got episodes 5 and 6 yet to come. And if you haven't seen them, episodes 1 through 4 are waiting for you on our YouTube channel. We also will continue to post reminders on our social media. So if you're not following us on Seattle Fire's accounts on Facebook and Instagram, please feel free to do so. We're also on LinkedIn as well, where Hannah posts content and information that you might find helpful and relevant in your preparation. The mailbox, sfd.recruitment@seattle.gov, is there for you to ask follow-up questions that are really critical to your understanding. We also have the ability to, I know firefighters at stations will welcome if you want to knock on a door if you're local and go in and ask some questions. Some in the chat asked, do we do ride-alongs? And we don't, but you do have an opportunity between roughly the hours of 10 and 4. We do welcome people in as our folks are not on runs, but you can go in and again, ring the bell, knock on the door, and if folks are in quarters, they're going to answer questions for you. So feel free to take advantage of that opportunity. So as John said, stay strong, stay motivated. We're really close here. We're excited for all of your interest. We wish you the very best of luck. And again, this will be recorded and made available. So I want to thank everyone who participated today and wish you the very best of luck.